Hi, welcome to the Diplomatic Notes. I'm here in India. I'm here to join with you, especially to discuss on one of the most iconic apolitical prime ministers that India has had, Dr. Manmohan Singh. Dr. Manmohan Singh has been seen as one of the tallest leaders in India because post the independence, India has had many transforming leaders who governed. However, when there was an economic collapse during the 1990s, that was the time period when the country was really looking upon somebody who can reform, transform, and develop India. Now, this was the same time period when West was looking at India, how they could come down with the reforms, because history goes down that when the US wanted to enter into China, that was the time period when Ronald Reagan took down the investments inside, and then China opened down the economic reforms in the 1980s. And then in 1990s, they were looking forward for if there was any transformative leader who was there. And that was the right period of time when Dr. Manmohan Singh took the charge as a finance minister. So he's been well known for the economic reforms that he took over in the 1990s. And then post 2000, he got the opportunity to be a prime minister. And then he had 10 years of his administrative rule in power. And the saddest thing has been that the last week was the time period when his demise came inside. And this was the period of time when both the ruling party and the opposition came together in order to support with his homage. And in order for this particular things, I really wanted to discuss about Dr. Manmohan Singh, his reforms and his contributions to what we call this as social justice. And so what I did is I invited Mr. Arunachalam over here to discuss with me about Dr. Manmohan Singh. So welcome, Mr. Arunachalam. The first question that I want to ask you is, why is Dr. Manmohan Singh seen as a very iconic person in the Indian economy?
So I am very grateful to Diplomatic Notes for inviting me to talk about a great personality like Dr. Manmohan Singh. As I feel, actually, I have gone through his life. He had a very humble background, poor family. Actually, when India was partitioned, at that time he was in Pakistan, Punjab, and he had to come to Delhi as a repatriee. He was in a refugee camp. He studied up to 10th standard in a Urdu medium. Then in the refugee school, he was studying, and he was a good academician. He grew to a very big way in academic thing. He had been to London. He studied in Oxford and subsequently in Cambridge. He was not only an academician, a scholar, he had a bureaucratic role before taking charge as a Prime Minister or Finance Minister of India. He was in United Nations. He was in he was a Reserve Bank Governor of India. He was a Deputy Planning Commissioner, Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission of India, and so many administrative background. Wherever he worked, he won the people around him for his knowledge. He was a very soft man, so he has proved a very successful as an administrator, bureaucrat. And because of his qualities, his knowledge in the economy, economics, he all of a sudden in 1991, a very big India had to face a lot of problem because it actually bankruptcy was staring India. Just to 2 weeks import money only, balance of payment was in a very precarious condition. At the time, a new government under P.V. Narasimha Rao, they took charge. Because the country's financial position was so bad, they had to choose the best finance minister, and we have to give credit to P.V. Narasimha Rao, and he chose our Manmohan Singh as the first finance minister. So, you see, it was a very thankless job for Dr. Manmohan Singh. And I think it's very difficult. I am telling you one thing. I have to quote William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare is telling, some are born great, some achieve greatness, some have greatness thrust upon them. He is found to be in the second category. He achieved greatness with his hard work. So nobody would have taken India to this level in 1991. You see, just to balance the payment is so bad, and he had to do something very great changes in India. Till that period, he coined this word LPG. If you ask in India what is LPG, they will tell simply liquefied petroleum gas. But he did liberation, L for liberation, P for privatization, and G for globalization, LPG. This was the policy promulgated by Finance Minister our Manmohan Singh. And it was a big challenge. And even Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, he had a doubt whether he will succeed. And reluctantly, he gave full liberty to Dr. Singh. That way,
I think that was the time period when you had Dr. Manmohan Singh and
as
as finance minister and as commerce minister, you had P. Chidambaram who was there.
yes, you are correct. Commerce Minister was there, but all the policies were taken by him in consultation with the Commerce also. But thing is, this LPG was a turning point.
The liberalization was one of the time periods
Liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Till that period, no liberalization.
in India. India didn't have
In
liberalized
India
politics
actually,
because globalization was a concept
no, it
where
was
even
a
China had come together.
yes, it was a closed door. He had to do something, and there he liberalized. All this license Raj removed. So slowly, this at that time only most of the industrial thing were run by only public sector.
So what do you mean by this license, Raj, that you're mentioning?
Means for private or any private enterprises, for each and everything they have to approach the bureaucratic system for license. So that way, growth was not coming up to the expectation. So he thought unless until the doors of economy is opened out to the global area, it cannot. For that reason, he formed some committee, some revolution he made. To tell you very frankly, because I had seen the history, I myself suffered also. Just for getting a phone on a telephone landline, I had to wait for 6 months. One LPG cylinder, to get that one, it took some 4 months or 5 months. So no, nothing was there. So people were very poor, and the thing is, unless until we were suffering from capital shortage, unless until investments coming from outside, we
So
cannot.
you mean to say that India didn't have a lot of money and he was the person who opened down the gates so that the investors or the industries could easily step inside and start doing business together with India and with the Western countries which is down there. So you mean to say he brought inside policies which favored down for the Indian industries to open down and start doing business together, and thereby there was a technology transfer.
Yes. Actually, not only investment. First of all, what he did, most of the banks were owned by Government of India.
Okay.
First, this financial sector reform he did it under one Reserve Bank Governor Narasimha. So this banking industry, first of all, it was under the control of government. Slowly, these private sectors were encouraged, and it started then only. Now, recently, Reserve Bank of India is telling three banks. They tell they cannot be three banks they identified. One is State Bank of India, and another one HDFC, private bank, and another one ICICI Bank in 2024. They cannot be become bankrupt. Their very strong bank is actually categorized by Reserve Bank of India. Why? At that time, in 1991, no HDFC, no ICICI Bank.
There were no private banks in
Yes.
general.
And another thing I tell you, now foreign investment, you are asking about this. These banks, this is HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank, your so many corporates, and you'll be surprised. China's Reserve Bank, they invested around 40,000 crore in many 35 industries, including HDFC, ICICI Bank. These are all because of our.
So, which means you mean to say that Dr. Manmohan Singh
Yes.
had liberalized down. The first thing to begin with was the banking system.
Yes, yes.
Why you mean to say the banking system was the main platform where
It's
the
a
fund
backbone,
investments
backbone.
comes inside. So he ensured that all the ones which were controlled by the government or the state was something which was liberalized for more private enterprises to come inside. And once the private institutions start come inside, there is going to be ease of capital of flow which is going to drive inside, and thereby it's going to push the industries to start increasing the economic activities. So you mean to say this was one of the most important things?
No, this actually, as a banker, I tell you, Manmohan Singh was my governor, Reserve Bank of India governor. He particularly chose this banking sector, Narsim County. Not only because of that, you can see Axis Bank, so many private banks.
Apart from the banks,
yes,
now
I am
let's
coming.
move to the next
Yes, yes.
this one's
Not
industries.
only banking sector, he did another telecom revolution. Because of that, you see all these things, your mobile phone, all these things. The telecom also he privatized.
So
And
this
another
also
thing,
happened in the 1990s.
yes, the airline that is there in the capital market. There also reform he started. That kind of reform in capital, because before that, for capital thing, one regulator was the SEBI. That SEBI was given during his period only statutory position. So regulation, all this capital thing, this also they
So
he
what
has
I
done.
understand from you is that after Dr. Manmohan Singh was appointed as the governor of central bank and then subsequently the finance minister of India, he took down quite a lot of policies in order to liberalize the economic activities. And then he created institutions such as the SEBI, the IRDA, and everything as well, which is there. But then, like, one of the things which I really also wanted to ask you was, India had India is one of the countries which a lot of Western investors still feel that they are not really confident about how to do business with India. Now, if this is what is there in 2024, how was it in the year 1980s, and how did this building up of this trust come in the 1980s, especially attracting investors?
No, no, the policy was taken slowly. Actually, not necessary. Now, today, even today, if you find that bureaucratic hurdles are there, but in spite of that, foreign direct investment is coming. So many changes. You see, now there is all airlines are privatized. So investment in most of the share investments, foreigners they invest.
So you
But still, you see, he did foreign direct investment free. So many licenses abolished. So that way, even not only that tariff, one Raja Chalaya committee formed for taxation reform. That actually they abolished this tariff to a great extent. That helped. And apart from that, in the banking sector, I forgot to tell you, at that time, you may not be knowing about banks. Banks are supposed to keep some cash reserve ratio and statutory liquid ratio. If they receive some money from the public as deposit, you have to keep a portion of the money in Reserve Bank of India in cash.
Okay.
That is called cash reserve ratio. That was there some around 30 or 40. It brought down to 25%. And the statutory liquidity ratio, SLR, that actually in bonds, they were to keep 50%. That was reduced. By that way, banks were free to get money. It is not locked in Reserve Bank of India. They started advancing. So this helped. But one thing problem, what has happened, he started it. Now the present government for the past 10 years, they are also carrying out.
He's been very instrumental in certain things. One of the things that you mentioned is bringing inside the tariff barriers down, bringing inside 100% foreign direct investment. And as you mentioned down, you said that auto industry is also one of the industries. The automobile industry is something where there has been 100% foreign direct investment. And if I'm right, the initial stages of foreign direct investment when he began, it was about 5150, and then slowly it started,
Yes, it's
which
increased.
was
Now 100%.
now it's from the 5149. From there now it's reached out to 100% of foreign direct investments in those particular sectors. And that's why you mentioned now that today we have come down to such a stage that India has 100% foreign direct investment when it comes to the airlines industry, which is there. Now, sticking into investments on one side, now let's see this on geopolitics. Now, geopolitics is something how, because on one side, India had to stabilize its economic environment within the country. The second thing is it had to promote itself outside the country. So when I mention outside the country, how was the geopolitical environment with India during the times of Dr. Manmohan Singh, and where do you credit him? Because the USSR has been traditionally close to India. And then there are a lot of people who say that after Dr. Manmohan Singh came in to governance, he became more close towards the United States and Europe. So, what's your opinion on that?
Dr. Manmohan Singh, he got two chapters in India. One is as finance minister. In 1991, he took charge. Then subsequently, he never expected. All of a sudden, in 2004, he was invited by the Congress government to take the leadership of prime ministership. In the beginning reform, he did it as a finance minister. Now, as a prime minister in 2004, all of a sudden he was nominated. He was not a politician, basically a statesman. And he was picked and he took the second chapter, second work, great building up of this India. And I would like to inform you all that India is not like a Luxembourg or small country. Is a 1.45 billion people are there, and here so many languages, so many religion. The every state is totally a different one. You see, running India is a very tough, not like your America or England or Germany. Very tough. This assignment he took charge in 2004. Again, he was building up. In the entire history of economic history of India, during this 2004 to another 2009, it was a golden period. Our GDP growth was around 10.5%, and he built up. But yes, in his entire career, the one issue there, and another thing also in 2004, when he took charge as prime minister, the government was a minority government. It was in existence because of the support from communist and other small parties.
It was a coalition government.
And he was a broad-minded man. He was a liberalized thoughts economically.
If I remember, the communists protested against the International Atomic Energy Agency's Act, which was for the nuclear deal, and that was very well known, where even the speaker himself, who belonged to the Communist Party, stood up and said that I'm against the protest which is absolutely irrational. And that was very well seen across, and Dr. Manmohan Singh stood against, even though the communists stopped the whole economic development of India.
No, the personality of our Dr. Manmohan Singh, because we are speaking about Manmohan Singh. Manmohan Singh is a very visionary. He is a very soft man. He listens to everybody. Even the previous governor, Raghuram Rajan, he was telling about Dr. Manmohan Singh. Whatever criticism you make against him, he will not lose his patience. He is a cool man, but he is very firm. He is very firm. He once he decided, he will carry out. And similarly, another minister, Kapil Sibal, he was telling about
Yeah.
our
But then, like, what is your opinion on the nuclear deal
yes,
and the
yes, I am
US
coming. I am coming.
relations?
And this government was supported by communists at every point of thing. They discussed, and certain things they got differences. Certain things they allowed. Say, for example, at the time he allowed the industry, the capacity to increase independence, the business environment, everything, and they allowed. But when it came, no doubt, you cannot say the same communist in China.
Let's
And
stick to this communist policies and everything. Just there.
no, thing is, I am telling you, generally is a opinion here communist against. It's not like that. In Deng Xiaoping, there in communist China, they same way what Manmohan did, they understood. The communists of India, after seeing Deng Xiaoping's growth, economic growth, same thing is applied. So whatever merit there they supported. But as regards nuclear thing, they got a difference. Nuclear means actually the policy was India was isolated. The nuclear suppliers group, they did not supply. We were in deep trouble. So nuclear energy very important. That Dr. Manmohan Singh he understood. Without nuclear energy, our people, poor people, cannot grow. So ultimately, he appealed to Western countries. America. At that time, George W. Bush was the president, and he had a talk with him. And no doubt, locally, the communists they opposed. We should not go for this one. He wanted to go ahead, even if he wants to step down. He openly told, "Nothing doing. I'll go for this." He was very
So he
firm.
was a very strong person. He
Very
proved his
strong person.
strength.
Even if I am removed from the prime minister post, I'll go ahead with this. And accordingly, he went there.
But then that also was, I remember, because once the communists didn't stand by him, after that, I remember politically the communists were wiped out of India. I remember they've been wiped out of the West Bengal, and the only remaining state is Kerala, which is still because of the reason that they are performing to the local needs of people, but the ideological needs of communism has been totally wiped out of India, considering the fact that it's too much not really matching with the Indians, with the young Indians mindset of progressive growth, progressive economic growth, which is down there. Now, just to put
No,
across, yeah, please.
one thing here I would like to say, we cannot say, you see, every organization, whether it's communist or Congress, if they fail means that is an organizational failure. We cannot blame their policies. You see, certain policies of communist also, they are good. Their labor right, everything is good. But organization failure and the
And people
policy.
also lost the trust
No, that is because of they
of
are
bad leaders.
not functioning well.
Okay.
You see, the policy of their thing, you see, in a country like India, where workers are more informal, this one, they are not getting things. At that time, they fight. But unfortunately, just because some communist organization failed, we cannot simply blame their thing. Their rights, they were fighting for labor rights. So that is
But
in the
they were
organ
fighting for movements, but labor movements. But then at some point of time, they lost the connect with the people.
because of some their organization failed. Their
The
leaders failed.
organization failed. Now, to go upon the next question, which I want to put down, social justice and equality. One of the things is India and social justice has been always been a question because of the reason that it's a huge country. There are a lot of people who are very rich, and there are a lot of people who are very poor. The inequality is something which is very high. Now, especially when it comes to these things, how did Dr. Manmohan Singh work upon in order to bridge the divide and support down the inequality in the society? Did he introduce any policies?
In the first 5 years of our Dr. Manmohan Singh's rule in 2004 to 2009, he was attending to other things. Then subsequently he noticed all the reforms they are going only to help skilled people. He noticed the informal sectors they are affected. For that reason, he introduced many things. One is Right to Information Act, and another one is Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. That is, in India, I am telling you, the reality is almost 60% of the people they indulge in agriculture. 60%. So, and India's maximum GDP contribution is from almost 55% from service sector, and your industry is only 15%. So, rural people, they are not having a job. For that, what he did, this Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee, 100 days, certain. You don't starve. I am giving you this. So this one is still continued. We have to give credit to the present government also, which is continuing. So this way, that is there. A Right to Information Act, a Right to Education Act. He found many people they are not studying. So a certain percentage, a private school, they have to admit a percentage of thing. Not only that, corporate social responsibility. 3 years average a certain percentage, 2% corporate, they have to earmark for social development. These are things. So he did for other things also. The second 5 years he attended to the poor. But one thing, the problem with in India, this inequity means why it is exact. So the most of the reforms, everything done in formal sectors. Informal sectors, micro, if you see in India, roadside, the vendors are there selling, still there, they are suffering. These are all informal sector. Here, this all reforms they have not reached. The skilled people, they got advantage. Those who are skilled, they are employed by the corporates. Unskilled means they have to lighter in the road. So this kind of things, this is the thing. And I am telling you one more thing. Because of this reform, I am telling you, from 2011 till date, 16 lakh Indians migrated to India and they abandoned our Indian citizenship, settled there. One more thing, actually, Dr. Manmohan Singh, he looked after equally, not only nuclear, also every aspect did it. That way, he won the hearts of everybody, including opposition. Now, what all the reforms, what we are seeing, that basement he created. But still, that what you told about the inequality in wealth, all this going on. But thing is, it's a very, very big problem for us. And you see, the per capita income of India is $2,500. And China, it was behind India. And now their per capita income is around 13,000
So
Doc-
let's now move to the other questions which is there, because there's a lot of criticism which has come against Dr. Manmohan Singh, especially with the fact that a lot of people, for example, I still remember when the Sri Lankan war was going on, a lot of criticism came against Manmohan Singh that he failed to act in support of India and the Tamils who were there, which are in Sri Lanka. And that's a very emotional response which was there for politically inside the southern state of Tamil Nadu. And this also had a lot of consequences down. Do you feel that it was Dr. Manmohan Singh's failure to act on that? Or was it where China had gone very strong with its relationship with India, and thereby India could not do anything with its China's relationship with Sri Lanka?
Dr. Manmohan Singh was the president of one sovereign state, prime minister of one sovereign state. Sri Lanka, it was a different state. It is coming one of the members of the United Nations. Here one hour. He cannot poke his nose all of a sudden. It was an ethnic war going on in Sri Lanka. Directly he cannot interfere, but rather, yes, Western countries, Finland, they took the initiative. They want to bridge, but they failed because the two sides. So, Prime Minister of India, he tried because he wanted it should be amicably settled, and Finland was trying. He encouraged wherever possible, even refugees came, he did. But thing is, this is an international problem. India cannot interfere in another sovereign country.
But then, like, okay, if I consider that argument of yours, there was also other criticisms which came against Dr. Manmohan Singh, especially when it came inside corruptions of one of the things which people were mentioning. There's a lot of corruption which is happening inside, and there needs to be more transparency. And though that could be politically motivated as well. Apart from that, a lot of people felt at some point of time that there is a economic inflation where the price rise was extremely high, and that was one of the angers which really was there, spilled out in the streets in 2013 and 2014. What's your opinion on that?
No, no, actually, what has happened actually, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, he did not involve in anything as per reports. No court has convicted him, the allegations or anything. The coal also, it was there. Yes, some of the ministers might have committed some omissions, commissions. It is for the court to decide. But in no way, even some case was there in the coal case. There also, Supreme Court, they did not take cognizance of Manmohan Singh. Manmohan Singh is far apart. He was a simple man.
These were just the political or the media
No, you see, some any government, some omissions and commissions will be there. Some ministers may commit misway. So we cannot charge a prime minister like that. Manmohan Singh, he never engaged. And I told you, Kapil Sibal, he was telling, he allowed me to function independently. He never interfered. When a ministry is allowed to function independently, when he is misusing, what he can do? But even that also, all charges, allegations may be there. But ultimately, whether court convictions were there.
Now, to touch upon the last question, because if I'm really going into the last question of this one, without Dr. Manmohan Singh's support, guidance that he has been giving, how do you see the future of the Indian economic growth and activities?
No, the Manmohan Singh, he created the basement. It is for us to improve. But this 10 years under our Prime Minister Modi also, what Manmohan Singh did, he is carrying out. So many reforms also subsequently the present government is doing. But still, many things are to be done, especially in the informal sector. Informal sector. You see, for example, judicial reform, jail reform. These are the reform, even bureaucratic reforms. These are still pending. Labor reforms, they are unable to do. They have done digital thing, everything they have done. I cannot, you see, every government, they contribute something constructively. This government also, they are carrying out Dr. Manmohan Singh's thing. They have achieved good things in digital and everything, infrastructure, very good. But still, we have to go a long way. It depends. And now I think so many economists are there, they are guiding. And no doubt, globally also, I tell you, India is now is part of global countries. Any global repercussion, it affects India also. So everything depends on not only India, also global. Now the two wars, because of that, the Red Sea, we are unable to export that way.
So it
So
affects any international consequence has an
yes, yes,
impact
that
or a
also,
spillover effect is
yes,
there
correct.
inside. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking with you on Dr. Manmohan Singh, who's been a very apolitical figure and a very globally respected leader. Thank you for joining.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you. Because speaking about Dr. Manmohan Singh, one of the best leaders, he sacrificed the country, and a very tough a country of this nature running this one, very great. We have to salute him like anything.